Hey, good morning, Inspiration Church. We have Eugene Howard here. He is the leader for the NAACP out in the Brazoria County. He has been one of the guys to really take the lead. The other night, he did a prayer vigil in Pearland for George Floyd and had white police officers there, black police officers there. And he's taken some heat from that. And I kind of wanted to bring him on to kind of talk about what that looks like in leadership, what are some of his ideas for change, and kind of what's his experience as he leads this deal.
Well, thank you, Pastor, for having me. So to get right to it, George Floyd's family had made it very clear. You know, he was a Houstonian, Houston native. They call him the Big Teddy Bear, and that he was going around spreading the gospel, spreading Jesus, trying to bring people together. His message was love. So I understand everything that's going on in our country. Our country is in flames. So us as believers, people of goodwill, even if your walk is not with Christianity, but you're just a person of goodwill, you ask yourself, what can I do to make this place a better place? And one thing we all can resolve on, no matter what your denomination or your religion is, prayer resolves situations. So in the midst of all the chaos, you find your spot, your soft place, your prayer spot. So I thought it would be a great idea to try to heal a situation rather than perpetuate the anger. Because at some point, Christ did say, turn the other cheek. Now, I'm not saying that's what we need to do right now, but that is the mindset of always be able to have a resolution with your brother, even if it's to agree to disagree. So when you bring those entities together that had never been brought before, we had Pearland Police Chief, we had the Constable's Office, we had all the faith leaders. Pastor was here and represented well. We had the faith leaders. We had different faith, all denominations. We had Catholics. We had Muslims, because we're all in this melting pot together. And we all wanted to stand and say what we saw was wrong and what we want to do going forward. What kind of community, nation, and county would we be? And I took heat for that. A lot of people are like burners to the ground. And I understand revolution. Ida B. Wells said the Winchester rifle should always have a place of honor over every black home in America that the law refuses to provide. So I understand revolution, but we have to ask ourselves, are you really willing to give your life? Like Dr. King, others who had a message that sustained over years are very, commercialized, and I would say another word, but we're at church. They've hijacked the message of the unity of the I have a dream, but they don't talk about him, the equality that we're coming to get our check, or we just want free and equal housing. And I understand, to answer your last question about getting the heat, I got heat from my own organization. Some people are so into their spots. So all you can do is pray for them and keep going about God's work. I told my wife, I said, hey, God had to walk, Jesus had to walk with a cat. When he met on GP, knew 2.5 years later he was going to get me killed. And if you look in your Bible, even at the moment of truth, he never ridiculed, he never attacked Judas. And for me, I'm a Christian, man, so I want to be Christ-like in that manner. We don't always have to agree. But if we're about the Father's business, which is about equality, life, and being wealthy on earth and not just waiting for your heavenly reward, we all can work forward to achieve that goal. And to answer the last question, Pastor, Dr. King, they like to, everyone likes to chant his message now. But if you do a little history, it doesn't take long to figure out. In 1967 and 1968, Dr. King was the most hated man in America. He was not popular. His message that everyone champions today was not being championed. And that's how not in that context, but I understand, because history is my subject, and I do understand leadership brings about sacrifice, that sometimes you got to stand in that uncomfortable hot seat to see the goal. I just pray that I don't ever have to pay that ultimate price that the Kennedys and Dr. King and Malcolm X and others along this riverboat that we're in. But I am willing to do what Christ put me here to do. So
That's good, man. And what I was telling you earlier is that anytime a leader makes a decision, there's always going to be flack, there's always going to be pushback, but then you'll have people that follow you. And that's one of the things about leading against the grain, because that's what you're doing. You know, to lead the masses and say, let's go shoot them up, let's go fight them. Man, we know where we come from. If they want to, we want to throw hands, we can do that. You know, that's a natural response. But out of maturity and knowing that it takes both sides of the table to be, if they're willing. If they're willing, then it's time for us not to walk away from the table. And that's what I see so many people doing. They're saying, we're willing to talk, and they're like, I don't want to talk to you. You know, that.
But then there's a problem when they didn't want to talk.
Right. So
I
I liken it to like a household that, you know, husband and wife, or a domestic relationship, we get mad, we yell at each other, and then we come back to the table like nothing happened, but we never resolve the issue. And the issue has to be done through communication. And the other side is willing, then I think it's up to us to be able to embrace that, and be diplomatic and engage it, and then set the narrative. You know, this is a systemic thing. We have to fight this systematically. It's not going to be fought by rage. It's not going to be fought by, you know, burning everything down. Those are good symbols to say, hey, we want political unrest. But in order for it to change, something about the system has to change. Exactly. And so that's why we have to change what's in black and white. And I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about what's on paper. So if we can change what's on the paper, then we'll be able to actually move and have justice. Because now, if a police officer, and one of the things that I was telling my team the other day, we need to have laws for police officers. Yes. As pastors, the Bible tells us that we will be held to a higher standard and a higher calling. And when we die and go to heaven, we will be judged as such. And if the police are supposed to be lording over the law or making sure that we uphold the law, then there should be something in black and white that says, if this is done, if power is mismanaged, if somebody takes advantage of this, is there, you shoot an unarmed man, or if it's racially stimulated or whatever that looks like, there needs to be a sentence, a charge that goes with that. And once you change it in black and white, you'll change the behavior is what I believe.
Amen.
And so, you know, I think we are in the position now to rewrite history, and allow us to be able to move forward, man. So I'm with you. I support you. I know the flack is coming, but hey, that's what leaders do.
Thank you.
You take
Thank
it.
You,
you take it, and you go.
Appreciate
So how do we get involved? You know, I'm not used to being involved. How do I get involved with this particular movement? What can I do? I'm scared. I don't want to go to no riots, but I want to be able to be a part and do something, because I feel like it's my opportunity. What do I do?
Man, great. Well, one, I would say engage not only with the NAACP, which of course, if you want to, our memberships are annually of $30. Go to our websites. I hate to plug it like that, Pastor, but that's how you can become a member. You can go to the national website or our actual website, Brazoria County NAACP.com. But with that being said, to move forward, you have to engage locally. Everyone wants to focus on what's going on nationally, but the locals electorate is what affects your everyday life. What school board? Property tax. The mayor hires the police chief. Leadership sets the temperament. So if you have the ear of leadership, and leadership is willing to listen, this is a time to capitalize on that. So I would say engage and just try to educate yourself. You know, this thing called technology and YouTube and Google is not only good for finding the housewives or the podcast, this or the next fad thing. Use that time and build some equity in your knowledge of obtaining the knowledge you need to have where you can apply what you need to do locally. Where is your local elections, your DAs, who's hired, your justice of the peace, you know, all of those things fall in that line. And once we fully engage the system, we understand that this place was not built for people that look like me and you, Pastor, but for maybe the first time, like you said, in history, we're willing to address that and move forward. So that's what we should do. And so you should engage. Contact your local congressman. Contact your local state representative, your state senator, your national, your federal, your national senator. Engage. Right now is not the time to close doors. It's time to get involved. Be the change you want to be. Create the community you want to live in. And don't look for a savior. Let's save ourselves.
That's good. Now, you said there's an event coming up on Juneteenth?
Yes, we're going to have a Juneteenth town hall where we're going to bring in, like when we had our prayer vigil that Pastor so eloquently spoke about, one of the police chiefs had got emotional over the fact that the trust had been forsaken within the community and law enforcement. And when you really strip it down, we are having untrust with the system, right? So when you think about it like that, our branch took the efforts to reach out to the local cities, the local school boards, and the police departments to come have a Building Trust Town Hall on Juneteenth, to where, we can no longer say, we're not being heard. We're bringing the people who make the decisions, who wield the power, to the table with the community. And yes, it will be difficult questions. Yes, it will be an uncomfortable space at times. But what we can do is be respectable, be civil, and get policies started, ideas started, to where we can move forward to a better city, county, and nation.
Thank you so much. Now, this is the boring stuff. It's fun to go out there and throw bricks. It's fun to go out there and march and throw fists up. It's fun to post on social media, but town hall meetings are boring. They're not great places to be, but that's where real change happens in the system. It's a boring approach, but it's necessary. And so this is not a time for entertainment. This is a time to go to work. And so that's what we want to do. So thank you so much, Eugene, for coming out. We support you guys, man, and we love you guys. Remember to love, live, and lead. Peace.